Just because the sun's gone down, it doesn't mean you need to stop riding your mountain bike. All you need is a decent set of lights, strap on your bike and get going. This is the GMBN Tech Guide to lights and everything you need to know about night riding. Okay, so first things first, what lights should you be buying? Well, really, it comes down to two main things here: the budget you have and what you're going to be using them for. So let's just go to the very beginning here. And if you're just commuting, for example, riding A to B, then you don't really need much in the way of lights. You need to be seen. You don't necessarily need to see. Set of USB lights like these little fellas from Lazine will be perfect. Charge in about 2.5 hours and it'll last for about 20 hours as well. So great, but you won't be seeing with them. Your next option is to step up slightly to a slightly more advanced commuter-based light. This one's also from Lazine and it's 800 lumens. But actually, it offers a surprisingly good beam and really quite usable for some minor off-road use. If you were to go out on a group ride, you could actually probably get away with something like this. So if it's your first time night riding, you don't necessarily have to go whole hog. So next up, the slightly more occasional rider. Now, any sort of major off-road riding, we recommend anything north of 1,000 lumens. Just don't bother with anything less than that because you simply need more to see. There's plenty of cheap offerings. If you want to look online, you can get a bit of a bargain. Now, these ones here, Nestling, whatever brand that is, got these for 18 quid online and they kick out a claimed 1,400 lumens. So the perfect light, in theory, to start your night riding experience with. However, they do feel a little bit ropey. The bar mount isn't exactly that sturdy. You have a separate battery on the bike, which is a point of weakness because it's easy to snag the cables on them. And if I'm completely honest, I don't feel that comfortable charging the battery because I don't know anything about the brand. I'd probably charge it in a saucepan. But you can't deny that 18 quid for 1,400 lumens is great value. And actually, that's worth a punt. Now, when you're riding on a more occasional basis, it's a good idea to head out on group rides. The local bike shop might organise it, or there might be a local riding group. Have a look online, Facebook, things like that, and you can find groups to go riding with. And the great thing about these, if you haven't delved in fully into buying loads of expensive night riding kit, you can light share with people. So you could go out with something 800 to 1,000 lumens and share the pool of light that every other rider has. If you sandwich yourself in between two riders with some heavy duty lights, you can actually have a really good experience, and actually it will make you decide if you want to invest in some more decent lights. Now, if you're going solo, it's an altogether different game. You need to be very well equipped. You need to have spare lights, you need to have backup lights, you need to have really good, powerful lights so you can see what you're doing for obvious reasons. I'd say at the minimum, you want 2,000 lumens. Now, a light like this one from Exposure offers 2,000 lumens and it'll happily sit at that for hours. But it's also got a feature called reflex on it. And actually it will jump it up to 3,100 lumens. It has an accelerometer built into it and it senses when you're going faster or you're going over rough terrain, and it will give you an expanded beam. It will give you much more light power. And when you slow down again, or if you pause maybe mid-ride just to have a break, the lights will dip to save battery power. Now that is an extremely handy feature to have because it's all too easy to leave your lights on the same setting and just wear them down. You'll also find on some of the more advanced lights that have LED displays on the back, and they're very accurate and tell you how much lifetime you have left on that battery charge. And finally, there's the more hardcore offering. If you want to genuinely go and ride the same as you do in the daytime, under the blanket of darkness, you need some severely powerful lights. This one, for example, is called a 6-pack. It offers 4,750 lumens, and that's genuine lumens as well. I've been to a factory where these guys make and test these lights, and what this thing can do is insane. It also has that reflex technology built in to save power and to give you the full beam when you really need it, which means no hands off the bars, adjusting the power on the light itself. And you're also going to need a decent light on your helmet as well. It's a two-part system. You have the one on the bars as your major floodlight, but there's also lots of blind spots when you're going over crests and in and out of trees that having a helmet light is really beneficial for. But it doesn't need to be anywhere near as big or powerful as this. 1,500 lumens is all you need. Brighter is better, right? Well, actually, no, it's not. Your lights have settings on for a couple of reasons. The first one is obviously to save battery power. Battery power is your friend with night riding because you can ride for longer and it's safer. But also, Your eyes can adjust your lights much better than you'd ever imagine. And even a light with 4,750 lumens, it's amazing how fast you get used to it. And sometimes it can feel like it's not quite as bright as it was when you started your ride. So use the settings on your light when you're riding less severe terrain, or maybe you're riding to the trails. Use those dip down settings to save the battery power. And that way, when you hit a hard and fast bit of trail, hit it up to full chat and it feels great. Just think about what your nan used to say to you when you had your outdoor jacket on indoors. You won't feel the benefit when you go outside, will you? Night riding doesn't have to be expensive. Everyone thinks it does, but it honestly doesn't. It's possible, like I've proven, to get a set of lights like these for under 20 quid. 1400 lumens for under 20 quid. They say they're weatherproof as well. That's a bit of a bargain. But I've got to say, I wouldn't expect them to last. You know, there's lots of points they could fail, lots of bits where the cable's coming out, it looks a little bit shonky. However, you can't deny that that's great value for money if you just want to give night riding a try to see how it is and see if it suits you. But if you get a bug, yeah, it's going to start getting expensive. And if you want top quality, reliable lights that keep working year after year, then it's going to cost you some money. Now, Exposure offer lights all the way up to over 400 quid, which does sound like a lot of money, but what you're paying is the quality of the manufacturing and the aftermarket service. They are not throwaway lights. This is a light that you will have for years to come. Very different thing. Now, if you want to learn a little bit about why their lights are so special, check out the video that's in the description underneath. I went to see how they make lights. Pretty cool tech. Just like the rest of your mountain bike, you need to be maintaining your lights as well. Now, in particular, look at a couple of examples I have here. Now, one of these lights has an external battery. That means you need to firstly make sure the cable routing is neat enough, make sure it's not taut enough that it doesn't pull out in the event of a crash. You also need to be checking at those terminals, making sure that they're actually okay. Water's not getting in there, you're not pulling them out the light, anything essentially that can make them fail. Look at the actual connection as well. Use some contact cleaner, electrical isopropyl alcohol based stuff. Make sure you drive out any moisture so you don't get any corrosion on there. And even a cheap light like this can last you quite a long time if you take care of it. And the more expensive lights as well, you still need to take care of them just as much as the cheap offerings. And you need to charge them just like the manufacturer suggests. Most lights these days you can top up charge, but some lights will still recommend that you run them flat before charging. So just check on that and you'll get the most amount of battery life out of them. A lot of them also advise you to not store them completely charged as well. So do check on that, because obviously there could be a long time in between using them, and do check them before you venture out for your first ride, because if your battery is fairly depleted, you won't know about it till about 20 minutes in a ride and it turns off. Now, there are two major styles of light. You get the ones that have a smaller head unit and have an external battery mounted on a frame, or you get the ones that have the head unit has the battery incorporated into it. Now, accordingly, they're a fair bit heavier because you're not having the battery elsewhere. And one downside is the actual bracket itself, the way it mounts onto the bars, you need to make sure it's very secure, both the bracket that clamps on the bars and the one on the light itself. Now, every now and then, it's a good idea just to check the bolt. It's a 4mm bolt on this particular one, and make sure it's got some thread lock on it as well. Carry a spare light and a beanie with you. When you have to fix your bike, it's definitely when, because it's going to happen at some point. You don't want to be wasting your lights. Get a beanie on to keep yourself warm, and get yourself a little head torch. This one's literally about 5 quid. It's all you need to fix your bike, save that lighting power to get back on the trails again. Trail etiquette. It's just as important at night as it is during the day. Now, if you've got a really bright, powerful light, don't run it on full power when you're riding to and from the trails. You're only going to blind motorists, and it's just going to make it unpleasant for everyone. And if you've got the most powerful light in the group that you're riding in, get your ass to the front of the pack. You should not be at the back of the pack, because you're going to ruin it for everyone else. I've done this before by mistake, going riding with a really powerful light, and you create loads of harsh shadows for all the riders in front of you, and you mess everything up. And finally, probably the most important one, don't ruin your friend's night vision by looking straight at them when you've got a head torch on. Bar mounted or helmet mounted? That's the age-old question, that one. Well, in an ideal world, you want one of each. Obviously, it's quite costly, so if you can only have one, I would definitely recommend going with the bar-mounted option first. That gives you the best overall beam. You can also carry the more powerful light on your bike as well, as opposed to on your helmet, so you're going to get more functionality from that. By having a bar mounted light, you want to be facing this as far down trail as possible. That way you can ride much faster off-road and see those obstacles coming. Never have your light pointed too far down towards your tyre, because A, you're going to be looking at your tyre because it's well, distracting to be fair, but also you just can't see obstacles coming towards you far enough. Now you want to make sure that you're pointing over 30 foot down trail at least. Now it does depend on how bright your light is and the capabilities of it. The more powerful the light is, the further down trail you can have that big flood beam to light everything up. There are a couple of downsides though to having a bar mounted light on its own. The first one is when you're riding really technical twisty terrain, you can get little black spots really where you can't see anything. So sometimes you might want to have a helmet light to help alleviate that. Also, when you're going over sort of blind crests and into bomb holes and stuff, again, same thing, you'll get blind spots, which can feel terrifying or really good fun, depending on how you prefer to ride things. And the last thing is, if you're riding trails that have got loads of overhanging branches, you can't always see them in time. I've clotheslined myself a few times over the years, so I'll always use a helmet light as well. But you can't just use a helmet light all the time because of the fact that you can't usually get them powerful enough to make the most of on their own. And they won't last long enough either. But there's also another downside to them. So the plus sides obviously are the fact that you can look everywhere. So wherever you look, you've got light. Brilliant for that technical stuff where the bar mounted light loses out. And they're also really good for the fact that you can see under things and over those blind crests, but your eyes will be darting around all the time at night. And it can actually be quite dizzying, a little bit off-putting at times. So really you want to be pairing them up. And you only want to have your helmet light in the brightest setting when you really need it. Just like the bar mounted light, keep them on low power, jack them up to high power when you're hitting the technical descents and stuff. And that really is the best way to run your lights. Well, there we go, that's the GMBN Tech Guide to night riding and lights. Now just to summarise, don't forget, the bare minimum for riding off-road, you really want 1,000 lumens or more. In the ideal world, you want a bar mounted light and preferably a smaller, lower power helmet powered light in assistance to that. Always carry spares with you. And finally, if it's going to be a regular thing for you, then really start saving those pennies weight and invest in some quality lights, because they will make it an amazing thing to do. And it means you can ride just the same as you can all year round, no matter what the conditions, what the light is. Night riding's wicked fun. Have you been yet? Let us know in those comments underneath, and I'll see you next time.